And then I thought, okay. So I had it planned in my head. I said, okay, now my sister taking me to Australia. This is a good break. I'll go there. I'll go to Australia. I'll grow up a little bit more, be more mature. Then when I come back, I want to find this guy. Because I want my face to be the last face he ever sees.
G'day everyone, Craig from People with a Passion, and thanks for joining me for today's episode. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, could you please subscribe to the channel? It's the easiest way you can support what I do is by helping me grow the numbers of subscribers on the channel. Also hit the notification bell to be advised when new interviews of People with a Passion are actually uploaded. Now, today's guest gives a raw insight into what it's like to be a child soldier. Ayik Chut Deng is a refugee who arrived in Australia from Sudan, who experienced the life of a child soldier for about 5 years, from the age of 12 to 17, and then he came to Australia faced with the challenges of learning a new language and fitting in to a new society and culture. He was on the show Look Me in the Eye, where he confronted one of his tormentors who ran a child prison in Sudan, and this is an amazing story that I feel is worth telling. He's written a book which is out now, and the information on the book is in the description below. Please sit down, relax, listen to and or watch this episode of People with a Passion with Ayik Chut Deng, The Lost Boy, Tales of a Child Soldier. Today's episode is brought to you by Applaudible.net. G'day everyone, Craig from People with a Passion. Today I'm being joined by Ayik Chut Deng, who is a former child soldier with the Sudanese People's Liberation Army, and he's here to tell his story. He's actually written a book called The Lost Boy, Tales of a Child Soldier, and it's available now through Penguin Publishing at most bookstores and online at Amazon and places like that. Thanks for joining us, Ayik. How are you going?
I'm all right. Thank you, Craig. Thank you for having me on your show.
It's really good for you to share and tell your story. And I don't want you to give too much away because you do have a book, but I want you to give a little bit of backstory around your journey in life and how you came to be a child soldier. So before you became a child soldier, what was life for you in Sudan?
The life was just normal, just living as a tribal boy. I was in a tribe, taking care of my cattle, live with families, uncle, aunties, and that was just the life before the war.
And you say you're part of a tribe. What was your tribe? Who were your tribe?
I'm from Dinka tribe. Dinka is the largest tribe in Sudan.
When did life change for you? So you mentioned that war came.
I think the war started in 1983, but I was still a young boy in the tribe. And from there, all different tribal people traveling through my village, heading to Ethiopia. And I was just thinking, where are they going? And I got told by some of the elders, these peoples are going to Ethiopia to get trained. So when they come back, they're going to go and fight the Arab, which is the north side of Sudan.
So I don't know much of the history, and that's why I've got you on. And a lot of people probably don't know much of the history, particularly in the Western world, because it's not a part of the world that we venture to. So you've got to take us there a little bit with the way you describe for us today your experience. Sudan now is a new nation. The war's over. How long was that process?
Because I really don't know the history. When I came here, I locked myself out of it. I just want to fit in. That was what I wanted to do.
Your new life here in Australia, you pretty much started a new life here for yourself when you got out of that. So as far as what happened in Sudan, you didn't want to follow it because I guess you're putting it behind you.
Yeah, because I felt like, what's my problem? How big can my problem be? What about other people? Everybody got a problem. So I might as well just forget about it and try to fit in the society. Mm-hmm. And after a while, it didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work. I started having, nightmares, and the nightmares turn into a daydream, which is like daytime. I'll be sitting there and something will just come in my head. Mm-hmm. I'll be thinking, what's this? But because it was just stuff from the war.
I do want to go back to your childhood.
Yeah.
So, because I want to understand how you came to be recruited. So that's the question: is you had people coming in and out of your village or wherever you were at the time, and you saw them going to be trained in Ethiopia,
and then years later, no, not years, a month later, they came back. Probably not just a month. Like, let me say it again. They went through my village, heading to Ethiopia to get trained. And then after a while, 9 months or a year, they start pouring back with guns. So what I did, I go and hang around the soldiers, helping them out. Mm-hmm. When they slaughter a cow, when they kill a cow, I go and help skin the cattle for them, skin the cow for them, helping them. And then I start talking to soldiers, where you guys getting gun? How are we getting gun from Ethiopia? Where we going to fight the Arab? All right. And then they start telling me, you guys are the next generation. Soon you're gonna go and get your gun, and you're gonna fight for our land. And I thought, okay, that's good. The first group that went to Ethiopia, when they came back, my brother came and he wanted to join the army. He volunteered, and on his way to join the rebel, he was killed just not far away from my village. My people, some of my people, the guy who killed my brother, his clan is not far away from me, and he's Dinka. And my brother was killed in execution style.
Okay.
He shot him at the back of the head. Mm-hmm. And all my brother did, my brother was just telling him, say, man, because they were traveling at night through the village.
Yeah.
And this guy, he just kept firing his AK-47. And my brother said, please, you can't do that. We got all people sleeping, children asleep. You're going to scare them. Yeah, whatever. And he just kept going, keep doing the same thing. After a while, my brother took a gun of him. And he said, I'm going to hold your gun until you calm down. So they walk. After a while, my brother thought, yeah, this guy's all right. Now I'll give him back his gun. He gave him back his gun. He took it. Then my brother started walking. My brother had his own gun. This guy loaded up his gun and then shot my brother the back of the head. And a few months later, maybe 2 months or even a month, my mom received a message, my people in my tribe, that your son was killed. They told my mom that. And, it was very sad, I cried when he left. I cried so much when he left.
How old was he compared to you? And
I think it was 25.
And how old were you at the time?
At the time, probably about 9, 10 before I went to the rebel.
Yeah. So that's a tragic story of your brother, and that was the start of the experience, I guess, of war for you.
Yep.
To understand that, yes, these soldiers were coming in and being trained, but it hit close to home. So how did you come to, at age 10, be recruited into that same
At that
militia?
time, I wasn't a recruiter yet. I was just helping soldiers, learning how to use gun. I learned to use gun before I was trained. Okay. I can, especially AK-47. I pull it apart. I used to pull it apart for the big boys, clean the gun for them, give it to them, after clean. So that's what I did at that time, at that age.
Sure.
So by the time I joined the army, I knew what to do with the gun.
And how many other boys in your village would have had that experience of helping as well? Like you were one, but was it something you were idolising at a young age, these soldiers, because was there initially some sort of looking up to them, do you think?
At the beginning, yeah, because they get to fighting for my country. So I like the idea that no one can come and terrorize you in your land. Mm-hmm. So this is what you got to do. At the same time, they're telling me what to do, and I agree with them.
Yeah.
If I invite you to my house as a guest, you got to come to my house and just as a guest. You're not going to take over. No. So what they were telling me is just like what Arab did. So they came to our land, they took over, used as a slave. Yeah. But we can't let them do that to us. So that's why we're fighting them, and we want you to do the same thing. And that's what the big soldiers were telling us. Because, when the war began and then my brother was killed, at the beginning of the war, and all of a sudden, I start seeing soldiers come with a weapon, and they told me you can have one too. And then from there, something is stuck in my head. Okay, the guy who killed my brother, I might be able to find him one day.
Yeah.
But how am I gonna get him?
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while.
So your mindset became around revenge at that point.
Revenge.
And anger.
I had the ideas that an eye for an eye.
Mm-hmm.
I can't kill you and then I'm gonna leave. Was it different? That's what I had in my mind.
Yeah.
So when I first joined the rebel, I still had the idea, and I was very young, but I had this thing in my head. One day, I think this guy will get to see me.
Mm-hmm. So you ended up in the child prison in Ethiopia, and there was
First was child trained. I went to get trained.
So,
and then from there, I just couldn't handle it. I ran away. I stayed there. I went for training for at least 2 months.
And how many kids would you think, numbers-wise, would be getting trained at your age? What age would you be then?
At the time, probably maybe 1,000 at that time. I can't tell you, but roughly about 1,000.
So if you tried to escape that situation, you were rounded up and imprisoned more or less in Ethiopia. Do I understand that?
Yeah, I was at the border. We were at the border. So Ethiopian, we don't even see them. They're far away, but we're just at the border of Ethiopia and Sudan.
Yeah.
So, and even if I escape, I'm only going 3 kilometers away.
Yeah.
Because that's where the refugee is. The refugee camp is 3 kilometers away or 2 kilometers away, and this is a training camp, child soldiers training camp. And they were adult training camp. Yeah. And there's child soldier, and then there's refugee. So if I run away from here, I'm not going that far. I'm only going to the refugee camp.
Yeah.
I'm not running back to Sudan because I'll probably get killed by other tribe on the way.
Yeah.
So you just go to the refugee camp. Few days later, they rock up.
Yeah.
Looking for, child soldiers, those who ran away, or the new one that just arrived, because there were trucks arriving every day.
Yeah.
Every day from Sudan to that refugee camp, because the whole Sudan was just running away. So the tribal, which is the south. So we all heading to Ethiopia, even though we have some other people back home, but all the young ones were running to Ethiopia. And some of the middle-aged, some of the old ones want to run away, don't want to live in Sudan. We all went that way.
This is tough for you. Like this process has got to be tough for you, going through telling stories and trying to, and this is part of the thing you've been trying to escape, but trying to put it in a cohesive sort of story, and that's probably where the book helps or has helped.
Like I said earlier, all these interviews that I've been doing, it bring a little bit of memories back, but at the same time, it's healing. Years ago, I used to sit in front of TV, and whenever I watch SBS, anything to do with the news about war, tears come. And when my family asked me, I said, I'm all right. It's just the bloody, people fighting. Because that's what I tell them, but they didn't know what was going in my head, what was going in my mind. It was just a flashback. So whenever I see, people, like war, Syria, Iraq, back at the time, I'll cry.
Yeah.
And then when they talk, it's all right. I'm just feeling for these people, but I was doing it for myself.
So, as a child, most people aren't experiencing what you've experienced at ages 10, 11, 12, right up to the age of 19 when you left.
Like when I went to school, I never told a lot of people about my life.
Yeah.
Some of my classmates that I went to, all they knew I was a child soldier, but they didn't know what I went through. But when they watched the show, there's one of the guys that he written a piece in there that Penguin ended up putting there.
Yeah. That individual at school that said they didn't realise what you were going through and they didn't get the facts. So you were keeping this mask to the outside world, including family, that of how you actually felt.
When I went to school, it was just daily. We go to school, little break. We go there, play basketball. Lunch, play basketball. After school, play basketball. And all they knew about me is just, I'm from Sudan. I was a boy soldier. But they didn't know exactly what I went through until they watched the SBS show. And that's when I start getting messages.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ayik, I thought you were just normal at school. How did you do it? I just said, because, I didn't want to talk about it because I felt like, my story is just like all of you guys. Everybody had their own problems. So why is mine the big deal? But it came back and haunted me. Like I had dreams, here and there, and it just brought everything all back. And especially it just got worse when I ran into the guy that used to torture me, the guy who ran the prison.
So let's talk about that interaction. And you mentioned you're on Look Me in the Eye, which was an SBS program, which sort of prompted you or got the ball rolling to write the book. So let's talk about this interaction, this meeting that you had with one of the tormentors who ran the prison, and the story and why this individual came to be one of your people that you had to confront.
Well, I volunteer, to get into the rebel from the beginning. I went in there and said, because my auntie, had a husband. Her husband was a captain in the rebel. So she protected me. She said, no, you can't go, you can't. I said, no, but look at all these children. They got guns. They're young. I'm bigger than some of them. So why can't I join and get trained and get my own gun? Yeah, but not now. You do then later. After a while, she gave up. She said, you go. So I joined. I remember the day I was dropped at the training. After 2 months, I couldn't handle it. I ran away. I went to the refugee camp. The refugee camp was like 2-3 kilometers away. And a few days later, the rebel came, or which is the soldiers anyway, to get all the child in the refugee camp to go back to the train, and then they found out that I escaped, and that's when the beating began.
That obviously put a target more or less on you as I guess a weak individual, and then for a risk or a threat, a flight risk, I suppose.
Yeah, and then if they found out that you ran away, so you get punished more than anyone that was arrested within the camp, because you were supposed to be trained and then you ran away.
So they used fear as a means of control, I imagine. So they used younger and other people as an example of, if you do this, then this is going to happen to you.
Yeah, this is going to happen to you, exactly. And it did happen to a lot of child soldiers. At the time, I didn't think like it was bad, because happening to everybody is happening to everybody. When things happen to everyone, so why would you think that you are treated different? So it was happening to a lot of child soldiers that ran away.
So what were some of the things that he would actually have done that you can speak to?
For example, they call it discipline, where as soon as they get you back, you get taken to the river, they dip you in the water, bring you out with your shirt, and then you roll on the sand, hot sand. You roll 20 meters that way, 20 meters this way. You just got to keep doing it until your shirt dry on your back. And then you got to stand up. And then you got to run 50, 60 meters. Back and forward, back and forward. Then you got to stand on one foot for even an hour. And every time the other foot touch the ground, you got 3 people around you. And they start whipping you. And if they're not whipping you right, he will take it off them. And he'll whip them. He'll beat them first so they can beat you hard. And then you get tied up. Your elbow. No, your elbow tied up to your ankle. So you sort of like sitting on your chest, and you just tied up like that. And you be in the sun for that long. There was a time when you cry until you can't cry anymore because your lungs just out.
Yeah, that's for most people watching, their experience of being a young person, like a child. That sort of experience is unimaginable because that's not their experience, and that's why you've struggled and understandably struggled to deal with this and bottled this up for such a long time. And it wasn't just your experience; it's also experienced still to this day in some parts of the world where there are other child soldiers. But you came to Brisbane with your family, so your family managed to find yourself, escape from the situation. How long were you involved with the rebels, and then how long were you before you then had your family get you to here?
I was in the rebel for about 5 years before my sister got me out.
And how did she come to get you out?
Because she found out where I was, and I was with my auntie and her husband. So I was at the border of Uganda and Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
And what we were doing there, just bringing weapon in from Uganda to Sudan and distribute them to the rest of to the area that we were.
Yeah. So your sister got you out, but were your family already? They were in refugee camp, or where were they as a group?
She took them out one by one. Because
Okay.
at the time, when Ethiopia had their own fight, their own war, we ran back to Sudan. Then from Sudan, my sister started taking one by one, take them to a refugee camp, and then before I know it, I was next.
Yeah.
And she found where I was and took me to Nairobi, which is capital city of Kenya.
So she sounds like an amazing woman, your sister.
She done a lot, not just to my family, to a
To
lot
others.
of other Sudanese people who are here in Australia.
Yeah.
Sydney, Canberra, Brisbane, Melbourne, Perth, a lot of people.
So she's somewhat of a hero, I guess, within your community.
She done so much, yeah.
Yeah. So her story would be worth telling too. if she
Yeah, her
hasn't
story,
told
she's
it,
got
if
a
she
big
wasn't.
story than mine. Mine was just within the rebel, but she done a lot of other good thing,
Yeah.
for families who are here today.
Do you know much about the process of getting your family here to get refugee status and be placed here in Australia? I imagine that's done through international organisations to help get you here.
At the time, I didn't know much because when she brought me to Kenya, I ran away.
Mm-hmm.
I went trying to head back to Sudan because I didn't feel like I fit in the country.
Yes.
Because I didn't know how to speak Swahili. I didn't know. She put me to school and I didn't fit in. I didn't know English. I didn't know anything.
So
I felt like I'm one of the dumbest kids at school.
So did she try to establish you guys in Kenya more or less, like as a unit, and introduce you into that environment, thinking we're going to be safe here?
Yeah, we're going to be safe here in case we don't get to go outside Africa. At least we're in Kenya. So she's trying to put me to school. So I went to boarding school. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
From there, I ran away from boarding school. I went back to her. And I said, hey, you got to give me money. You got to send me back to Sudan. Because I'm useless. I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
I go to school. Everybody's speaking Swahili. They're speaking the best English ever. And I don't know nothing.
So what was the decision around your family coming to Australia?
Whatever she did, I think she went to immigration, Australian immigration, because at the time you're allowed to go anywhere. They can give you refugee status that you can travel to UK, you can go to Canada, you can go to America, you can go to Australia. But I was hoping that to go to America at the time.
Yeah.
That's because that's where a lot of my friends went to.
Sure. You find yourself in that process successfully accepted to come to Australia. Where did you end up?
First, I spent a night in Brisbane. We came here at night time. The next day, around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, we went to Toowoomba.
And you basically were raised in Toowoomba stayed in Toowoomba most of your life from leaving Sudan, or pretty much
from leaving
until
Sudan straight to there. So,
and how scary?
We were the second black family in Toowoomba at the time.
And how scary was that for you? Again, you're still not able to speak the language, so.
Yeah, but I felt better because I felt like these people, they're not my color. They will understand me. I came from a different country. Mm-hmm. But when I was in Kenya, they got black people like me, and I just feel like I'm one of the dumbest one around. Yeah. But coming here, I felt like they're white people. I'm a black person. I'm from a different continent. They from me. They will understand why I don't know the language.
Yeah, of course.
So I just look at it that way.
Yeah. So how hard was school for you, though?
School was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard, but I put everything into it. Me and my brothers, Even there was a time I used to tell my brothers, please, even though you don't know English, just try to pretend you talk English instead of your own language. Because back in Africa, I experienced a lot of racism, especially in Ethiopia. and then in Kenya, and at the border of Kenya and Somalia, because I lived there, people were very racist. Black people are the most racist people I've ever met, even though I'm black.
And you still experience racism here, no doubt, though, so because racism exists everywhere, and when you're noticeably different. I
do, but in Western, only a drummer will come to you and say it to your face, but a lot of people sort of hide it. Oh, look at that black, look at this. At least they're hiding it. They don't. Only the drummer walks to you and say, you're black, this and that. Yeah. So I had that.
Yeah, okay.
But it's not as bad as how my own people, whether they're Ethiopian or Somalian, how they used to abuse me because of my skin.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I've not heard that experience from someone describing the racism within their own, people or their own colour. I find that something that baffles me. I know racism exists everywhere, but it just goes to show that people will find a reason to hate on anyone regardless.
And it is really true. It is true. It's not just me. A lot of other child soldiers who were with me went through it.
Yeah.
I had fight in Kenya here and there because of racism, and I just came from Sudan. I still got that rage as a child soldier in my mind. Whenever someone, they do spit at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they spit at you like that. And I'm thinking, you're black. I'm black. But I didn't tell the difference back then.
Yeah.
I just thought, okay, they're lighter than me. Maybe they got a point. I'm too black, so maybe that's why. Now, when I look back now, some of the people that used to abuse me back in their country, they're here with me. They're here with me. And I just say in my mind, okay, if I ask one of them, what do you think a white person would call you and me? We both black. Even though you used to call me black, you just got a light skin. That's the difference, but we all classify as black.
You were diagnosed later, and this is, I imagine, after school, that they knew something was wrong, but you were misdiagnosed, and then later found to have PTSD. But how long were you misdiagnosed with your initial mental health assessment?
I was given a schizophrenia for about 8 years. I think after 8 years of taking all that drugs, I started asking myself. I said, okay, first I got told you're going to get better. Now, I thought I was going to get better after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And now it's 8 years. I stopped myself.
Yeah.
I stopped taking them. And I went to my GP and I said, hey, I have a different GP now. I want to be assessed again. And after they found out that I was suffering from a post-traumatic stress disorder, they said that, okay, we're going to give you medication for post-traumatic stress disorder. And I said, no, this might be another misdiagnosis. I stopped.
That experience and this experience has been really hard for you, but the writing of this book has helped you along the journey. Do you want to speak to a little bit of the process at the moment of why writing this book has been hard, but also therapeutic, more or less, something that has helped you?
Yeah. At the beginning, I never wanted to talk about my life, like I said earlier. And the thing is, a lot of child soldiers that were with me, they experienced the same thing. There are child soldiers right now who lost most of their family. Brother, father, mother. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was lucky, I lost my dad at the start of the war. So is my brother. Do you know what I mean? But the rest of my family are here now in Australia, which is the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
So I don't know where I would be now if I lost all of them in the war. I don't think if I live this long. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you'd have nothing to live
I have
for.
nothing to live for, But I got younger sister, mother, brothers. Do you know what I mean? So yes. I feel I'm one of the luckiest child soldier, especially in Western. Because I have friends here in Brisbane,
Yes.
They were child soldiers.
Yes.
Some of them lost their family back home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The father, the brother, the uncle, the cousin, most of their family. So I know there are people that went through worse than I am.
Yeah, sure.
You know? And even though I never wanted to talk about my story, but the opportunity just represent itself.
Yeah. The child soldiers that you know, how many do you think have experienced or have the same post-traumatic stress disorder and are trying to deal with this in the same way as you are?
Not many. Not many trying to deal with it the same way I did, because where I come from, people don't talk about their mental problem. If you have a mental problem, you don't talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you open up about it, it's sort of like your weakness. I had people that used to, when I first started medication, I had some Sudanese, they used to think that I am mental when I was on medication because I open up. And if it wasn't the girlfriend who I had at the time, and she was an Aussie, there's no way I'll go and see a counsellor.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was helped by her mother, after I separated with her, her mother said, I think you might need to see a counsellor because you got a bit of problem that we need to just sort out, and the counsellor can help you.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I don't have any problem. My problem is the girl just left me. That's my problem. And then that's where I was misdiagnosed.
So you went to seek help, but you got the misdiagnosis.
Yep.
So that
And the
doesn't...
help that I went there first was just because I just separated with my girlfriend. She left me. And then from there, put on wrong drugs. 8 years later, no.
Yeah.
You never had it.
Yeah, so that's an amazing story within itself, and it is in the book. So I'm
Yeah.
talking to Ayik Chut Deng, who's written the book The Lost Boy, Tales of a Child Soldier. So please check out the book online on Amazon, and you can go into bookstores. It's in circulation now. And you've been fortunate enough to have Ray Martin, who's one of our Australia's favourite journalists and most experienced and respected journalists, has written the foreword of the book. So that's pretty good. How did you come to meet Ray? And he's been a very big supporter of you with your journey.
Well, I met Ray on set of Look Me in the Eye.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't meet him first. I met him while he's introducing me to meet Anyang, my the prison guard.
So let's talk about
Yeah.
him, because we kept trying to touch on it, and we'll finally get this in now. So you're on the set of Look Me in the Eye, which is a program where people confront and tell
Yep.
people who have hurt them in their life's journey,
Yep.
for those who haven't seen the show, where they try to make amends. So firstly, you bumped into him at a church. So well before the show,
Yeah.
you actually saw him, you attended a church service and actually literally bumped into one of your tormentors from the prison in Ethiopia.
What happened was that, there was a wedding. So a friend invited me. Said, oh, there's a wedding here in the church at Annalee. You should come. I said, all right, I'll come. Because I didn't go to church often back then. I said, I'll come. I went there and, the bride and the groom got married and there was big feed and everything. And at the end of the service, people were just having a chat. Yeah, okay, good to see you, Craig. Yeah, okay, I gotta go. And then I looked to my right and I saw his face and I'm thinking again. My heart started beating. I said, hey, this is the guy that used to run the prison. This is Anyang. It was that moment where you pinch yourself to double check. Because I was in church, I thought, is God talking to me in my head or is this true? And then I realized it was true. I went back straight away, jumped in my car. I went home. While I was down just thinking. Everything came back quick.
Yes.
And I look at myself now, I say, okay, I'm strong, I'm big, this guy has no power, and I can do anything I wanted to do to him. I can even kill him with my hand. And then everything was just pouring in my head. It took me about 40 minutes to an hour, for the memories to start pouring in. And then I decided to go back to church, but it was the end of the service.
Mm-hmm.
The church was closed, and then from there, I said, there's no point. I never went back to that church again until SBS took me there for reenactment.
Yeah. So how did you come to be and tell your story on that show and confront him as a tormentor? How did that happen?
After the church, I ran into him probably a few years later,
Yeah.
and at a friend's place.
Yeah.
And
What was that experience like
I
to
was
sit?
I was drunk. I was
Yeah.
drunk when he was drunk, and
Okay.
we were just drinking. It was somewhere around Woodridge.
Okay.
So I walked him. I said, "Young, you remember what you done to me in the past?" He said, "Ayik, I know. I remember everything." I said, "Man, you're lucky. Australia saved your life. And at the same time, Australia saved my life. Because I told him if I found you in Africa, and young, where you had no power, I wanted to kill you with my bare hand."
So you confront him on the show.
You know, when I came face to face him on the show, it was pretty hard. Ray Mountain interviewed me before that. Said, "What happened if Anyang doesn't come on set?" I said, if he doesn't come today, just tell him, ring him and tell him that I forgive him. Because I didn't want to live with the anger. I was very angry all them years. But when I ran into him, I just thought, if I get to ask him a few questions for why he did what he did to me and why he did what he did to other children, I might move on with my life, you know? And that's what happened exactly, you know? After I came face to face with him on the show, where we just asked some serious question that I asked him on the show, question that I didn't ask him at the start. I said, "How many people die in the prison that you are running?" You know? And I asked him, you know, because there's one guy, he got his two arms amputated, and that was after he was tied up exactly the same way he used to tie me up. But this guy was tied up for a week, for a few days. And then after they took the rope out of his arm, it was infected. By the time he got to hospital, it's not like hospital, Australian hospital, this is bush hospital.
Yeah.
When they took him in there, they said, nah, it was too late. So his arm was amputated. And Anyang told me that the guy is in Canada. I told him, I said, "Anyang, if that guy was here now, I probably would have cut your arm so you'd be the same like him. You have no arm like him." Because I felt angry.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's hard to explain, man. You have to be in someone. You know that saying, say, if I put you in my shoes, you'll understand. If you were in my shoes, you'd probably say the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And what adds, I guess, salt to the wound too is this individual's cousin was actually the man who took your brother's life. So there's this association as well that in your mind that's something that he's related. So there's a connection there that I imagine sort of makes it even harder to know that he.
The thing is, I didn't know at the time. When I was getting trained, we went different way. He went and fought somewhere, and I went different way, fought in different area. I didn't know that was his cousin. When I came, before I came to Australia, my mom told me.
Yeah.
She said, "The guy who killed your brother is from this clan called this and that." And then I worked out, because I knew where Anyang was from.
Yeah.
And the guy is a distant cousin to him. And then I thought, okay. So I had it planned in my head. I said, okay, now my sister taking me to Australia. This is a good break. I'll go there. I'll go to Australia. I'll grow up a little bit more. Be more mature. Then when I come back, I want to find this guy. Because I want my face to be the last face he ever sees.
Yeah.
Because I had a message that I was going to tell him. I was going to tell him, my brother is waiting for you. And he sent me to send you to him.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's that feeling, even in our conversation, and you were talking about meeting your tormentor, that situation also for you has created a scenario where when you went away for the 40 minutes, all those things with your tormentor also came through. If you need to take a break, take a break. So obviously that story of, you know, you're wanting revenge of your brother's death is a story that takes you to a very dark place, but you've more or less moved on from that now, yeah?
Yeah, I've moved on, you know. I don't think the same way I used to at the time, you know, because, you know, there's so much to live for now. There's so much to live for. I realized I used to gamble with my life.
Yeah.
You know, I pull a gun. Anyone that, especially my ranks, not high rank people. If you with me and then you give me crap, I pull a gun on you. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Like I told you earlier, I got a friend here who's a police officer now. He's a liaison police officer. He used to be in the army. He knows me pretty well. He even remember telling me, remember when you pull a gun on this guy? And I was like, which guy? I can't remember. I pull a gun on many people.
Yeah.
All that sort of thing. But now when I look back, I say, I was just that close to be killed by anyone.
One of your stories you told me off camera when we first connected was one of the first things as a 12-year-old that you would do when you woke up in the morning is think, A, I'm still here, and B, my gun's still with me. So that you're absolutely in survival mode when you're in that situation, yeah?
Yeah, during the war, you know, because there are people that used to steal guns, take them back to the tribe. So whenever you go to sleep, you want to make sure that when you wake up, you got your gun.
Yeah.
Next to you, no one stole it, and you're alive. You know, they're the first thing that you need to make. I got my gun. I'm alive.
Yeah.
You know?
So most people's experience at the age of 12, if people think about what they were doing at age 12, that's a pretty serious situation to be put in where you're at age 12, where most kids would be playing and going to school, to actually find themselves in that.
Yeah, you know, because by the time it took me about a year to get trained. By the time I graduated, it was just, God, I got a gun.
Yeah.
I felt like no one can muck around with me anymore.
Yeah.
You know? The best thing that ever happened is I never squeezed a trigger.
Yeah.
You know, I look back now, okay, what would happen? But I think they say everything happened for a reason. And thanks God that I never pulled a trigger to anyone that was with me.
Yeah. So
the rest is all in the book.
Yeah. Make sure you check out the book. So I'm joined by Ayik Chut Deng, who has written the book The Lost Boy, Tales of a Child Soldier. So we'll give you information on where you can get hold of the book here in Australia and around the world. Anyang is your person that you connected with on the show, Look Me in the Eye, and he did come in and speak with you, and you had the chance to talk to him, and you forgave him. How big was that process for you, and how is your relationship with him today?
Oh man, I hated Anyang with passion. I never ever thought that I'll forgive him, but something happened. I don't know, it's just, you know, after I talked to him, you know, came face to face with him, he said sorry. And then after this show, I went there, took my little boy to meet him. And after that, I spent a whole week with him at his place. After work, I used to go there and sleep there. You know, I got to know him better, you know, like he's a father, he's a grandfather, and, you know, he loves his family, and you know, we start joking around. I tell Anyang, but when I was in Africa, I wasn't joking. I would have killed you, but here, you know, you're a lucky man. So am I. So I just want you to move on with your life, be happy.
Yeah.
Take care of your children, your grandchildren. You know, we were safe for a reason, because if he was in the war, Anyang would have died at the front line, because he was good at what he does. I can imagine what he did to us. Just imagine him against the enemy. Just give him the gun.
Yeah.
He told Ray Martin how he fought in the war, and I believe everything he said.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You also describe with him, when you spent your time with him for that week, that you got to ask him a number of questions, and the questions that would come up is the big why. But he also was fearing for his life, because that's part of the system that indoctrinates you into a military in that scenario when you're in a rebel group. So he was like, if I didn't do this in some instances to you guys when the bosses were around, then I didn't know what was going to happen to me. And then you also spoke of individuals that were whipping you, and if they didn't do that properly, they were then whipped.
Yeah.
So this whole system where some people were doing some terrible things to each other that probably went against their morals, but you also question him on, but when the bosses weren't there, you were still doing
Yeah, when the boss wasn't there, he still do what he does to us when the boss is there. And that's what pissed me off the most.
Yeah.
I felt like because he knew he had the power, he can do whatever he want to do without a boss. Mm-hmm. So maybe he was just showing off. And he was very tricky. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes he put his gun down there, you know. And I'll be thinking, if I go and grab that gun and trying to pull a trigger, what will happen? Maybe it's a setup. All that sort of thing, you know, and young head of mine. Mm-hmm. And I think he became smarter at a very young age. I don't know how to pick everything up, you know, yes. And that's how he was employed as a prison guard, mm-hmm. You know. It was 16, 17 at the time. So you can just think, at 16, 17 running a prison.
Yeah.
And there's 50 children cannot, so 10, 20, 30 children can go in there, and he's ran by a 16, 17-year-old. When you think of that, that means that he had a brain.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
So it's interesting because that's the first moment you've mentioned his age at that. So I'm visualising someone who's senior. So he's still, in our understanding, that's in Western society, that's still categorised as a child. So he's a child running a child's prison.
Yeah.
So so that's an absolutely amazing story. But you've mended those hurts now with him, recognising you're both in a bad situation.
Yeah, I forgive him because I think he said he had to do what he had to do. I said, all right, Anyang. But the thing, I look back, I'm lucky to be here in Australia. There are hundreds of thousands of people who would love to come to Australia right now, but they can't. So I'm lucky to be. I didn't want to waste my life because if I did what I wanted to do to them, where am I going to go? I'm just going to go to jail. So die in jail.
Do you ever look at Australians and feel we take some things for granted as well, or no?
Yeah, my iPhone is broken. Yeah, my this, my that. This is nothing. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, because that's the level of what can get you there. What got you? You made my car. Somebody crashed into my car. My world just came down. I lost my job. I only get, $600 a week. That's not enough. Do you know what I mean? So there is. Yeah, but I don't blame them because they're expecting more of what they can get at that moment. Do you know what I mean? So it's just that's how life is.
I think life has a funny way, if I don't know if funny is the right word to use, but you can always find someone in a worse situation than you, and even with your experience as a child soldier, while that seems extreme, you could probably and have seen stories that have upset you, maybe because it's relatable, but also recognising that, like, you've got a way, yes, you're scarred with your post-traumatic stress disorder and everything you're dealing with, but at the same time, you've got a situation where you mentioned someone who had lost both his arms and things like that. So you could almost say, well, his experience was similar, but he's walked away and he's living in Canada, and he's probably grateful for
that he's alive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can always look to examples and
think of the worst. The worst that could happen is not to exist. And I've worked that out. So I shouldn't complain. I'm alive. That's the first thing. Second, I got my family. Yeah. I had people shootings. This guy went and shot someone in the head, and then I had the gun, bang, and then a few seconds later, bang. I walk in there. We walked in there because we just thought maybe a gun gone off, somebody cleaning a gun. See, well, the guy who shot the guy that he shot died. Then when he shot himself, He didn't aim it properly.
Ah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all that sort of thing isn't.
You
I
see
feel
that.
like I wasn't, I wasn't as mad as
Mm-hmm.
other people who will go and pull
Yeah.
a gun. Something has always held me back,
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
When I think of them that pull a gun, kill someone, and I know them,
Hmm.
and I'll be just going, okay, that's a dead person. We got to take him somewhere, And the funniest story about this guy, he shot a guy, he killed a guy, but when he pulled a trigger on him, he didn't pull it properly.
Mm-hmm.
And then me as a child, I was thinking, okay, because he died half an hour later. The guy who shot the guy. Do you know what I mean? Because, I don't know, maybe he was scared. He didn't want to kill himself. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
In that way.
Yeah.
And it made me think that, I feel grateful that whenever I had a gun in my hand back then, I didn't pull a trigger. Something held me back. It's probably my kid.
Yeah.
Now, I got two beautiful boys. My little son is 13 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the same age when I was in the Rebel.
Yes.
And I got a 18-month-old little daughter.
Yeah.
So I look back now and said, okay, maybe this is the reason. Because they're the main reason I'm here.
Yes.
Maybe because I brought them here. I mean, maybe that's why I was kept. And that's what I tell myself anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is, I had mad people who are very, very mad. I had this guy. Every time he's mad, he load up his gun. What happened is, if we calm him down, the only way he'll relax, the bullet that he put in the chamber, he has to shoot it out. He never take it out and put in the magazine.
Yeah.
He say, you're lucky. Psst.
Yeah.
That's, when I rewind back, it give me a goosebump.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the story that other child soldiers tell me, it make me,
Yeah. So I want to take you back to something that you experienced in the jungle, and it was watching your first, what you thought was more or less a training video of Commando, and you were in the jungle and you experienced a black and white television that they showed you a movie, and you thought it was real at the time, but when you came to Australia, you came to realise that it wasn't. So, and what that's done for you now on a positive note with your journey.
Well, I think we're in the jungle, where there is no light, nothing. But the soldiers, some of the older soldiers we had a generator. The soldier that came on that night, they had a generator, they had a TV. It was just as big as my crave. Do you know what I mean? And they turned the generator on to get the power to get the TV going. And they put a movie on. And the movie was Commando. And the thing is, because all the big boys at the front holding the gun, and then we here at the back. Some of us has to climb the tree to watch the movie. And the TV was about probably maybe 10 to 15 meters away. So we have to climb the tree to just watch. And you just see this white guy jumping out of the plane, and he land in the swamp, and there's no scratch. And I'm thinking, how does he do it? The big boy will say, yes, from another world. So I used to believe it. I thought it was real.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Kenya, I started watching a lot of movies. Indian movies on Kenyan television. And then I came to Australia, and they said, hey, that's not real. This is just acting. And that's how I sort of I said, I don't want to be an actor, but I just want to be in the movie, the background. Just to meet people like Arnold, which I end up doing. I met Chris Hemsworth, I met Idris, I met a lot of famous people on set. Not just shook hand with them, but I work with them.
So
do you know what I mean?
You've been an extra in some movies, including Aquaman and ones like that.
Thor Ragnarok, In-Betweeners, Aquaman, and some TV series I've been on there.
So
and I also play a role
in
myself.
Safe Harbour.
Harbour, I play a small role as a refugee. I play the real character.
Yeah.
The real character in life on TV.
Yeah.
And I said, why does everything has to be real? Why can't it be acting? So, you know what I mean? Because I wanted to act, but I play as a refugee, which is the real refugee that came here, which is me.
Yes.
Even though I was acting, but I felt good. I felt like, I wish it was English, because I want to speak English, but I had to talk in a different language.
So everyone starts their journey somewhere. So you are putting your foot in the door of these movies as extras, and then get a small speaking role.
Yeah.
So you're really starting the journey now into acting and
I hope so.
that space. And your book and your story, and hopefully they don't typecast you as the refugee in every series and things, because even though you have that experience and you're playing that real role, you're trying to learn the craft and become an actor within your own right. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't end up playing a part in your own story in a movie that may.
I know who to play. If they make a movie out of it, I like to play Anyang.
Yeah.
Because I still got that rage that I learned when I was a child that I can bring out on set.
Do you think? Do you think that would also be, because this has been a huge healing journey for you, even though a lot of people, you said, in your culture do not talk about how these things make them feel, that they're not, like, they don't talk about their mental health issues and things like that. This has been a huge journey for you. Do you think if you had the opportunity to play that role in a movie, of that tormentor role and the person, do you think that you would, that would also add to your healing?
Yeah, I think so. I'm already healing.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, whatever happened to me is there. It will never go away. But I find a way of controlling it myself.
Yes.
Like trying to do other thing and not think too much at the time. There are moments when I'll break down. Yeah. But there has to be something that trigger me.
Mm-hmm. So Tales of a Child Soldier, The Lost Boy is the book. You can get this from online, Amazon, in most bookstores, including Target and Big W as well, both online and in store, and probably at a good price from what you've told me. So, for those international people that are viewing People with a Passion, I'll make sure I put links in the description for you to purchase your copy of the book. It's obviously a story that is worth telling, so I appreciate your time in doing it. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience? If you want to speak to the camera, what sort of message do you have for anyone?
I just want to let everyone know that it's good to forgive, because if you forgive, you got more chances of moving forward, you know. And another thing too that I worked out, is good to talk about your past, because when you talk about your past, it heals you. You know, because if you hold it, it's just like a bomb ready to explode. But when you talk to people about it, you get help. It doesn't matter how you get help, but you do get help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that you are here today to tell your story, and I encourage people to go to the description for more information on where they can get the book. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And sharing your story, and it's an amazing story, and hopefully one day we see a movie made of it and you acting a role in it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to comment. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to be advised of new interviews when they're uploaded. I hope you join us again sometime. Catch you later.